Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, football fans, college football fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall. Clay Hall, I don't have to say welcome back to the Tim May Show. You're a part and parcel. You're like a chair that's always there.
You know what? I remarked.
Except you're a chair that can talk.
Sometimes. Bengals had some issues, and I like what Burrow's replacement, Jake Browning, said that as he went into the game, he said, you just have to be delusional and aggressive, which kind of describes both of us at times.
Well, it describes you even right now because you didn't even introduce what you're even talking about. I mean,
this is the hot topic.
The Bengals found a way, despite losing Joe Burrow for the next 3 months, right? It looks like
at least it said
at least 3 months. But go ahead now. Let's let people know that they still beat the Jacksonville Jaguars over the weekend. I think most people expect us to talk about Ohio State football right out of the gate, but I like this. I like this change of pace by Clayton Hall, ladies and gentlemen.
Shake it up.
That's why he's featured. Go ahead now.
They're 2-0 since first time since 18. So I see a cowboy running for a touchdown in the background. But tremendous drive led by Jake Browning. I'm bouncing around.
And by the way, folks, if you don't remember Jake Browning, he was the quarterback for Washington on Urban Meyer's last college football game when they won the Rose Bowl back at the end of the 2018 season. And he was the guy that almost led Washington back in that fourth quarter when the celebration had begun prematurely by the Buckeyes, but they held on for Urban Meyer's final victory, in his final college game. Now go ahead.
No, he's the guy now. I mean, he is the man. Even though he threw 3 picks in the game, he led that last drive, 15 plays, I think 92 yards. Way to finish, my man. Way to finish. Delusional and aggressive.
Amen. And now the two, well, we'll see if it happens.
Okay.
I didn't like the way Joe Flacco, something's wrong there. I mean, they've got to figure something out at quarterback for the Browns. Of course, you could have said that every day of the last 30 years, that statement. But, man, he made a couple of mistakes in that game that just turned it into a snowball. And you got Dylan Gabriel sitting there, by the way, from the Great Northwest also.
Yeah, checking his notes every 3 minutes.
And you're going, well, would he be any worse? That's the big question. So now you got the Bengals who have a competent backup quarterback.
Yeah.
We'll see how far he can take him. I think Jake Browning's a good quarterback. Is he great? I don't know. He's not starting. He wasn't starting ahead of Joe Burrow. You usually start your best quarterback, but I've always liked Jake Browning. He's a cerebral kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he can, give him a little bit of time. He can play pretty smooth. So yeah, your point was, Jake Browning stepped up when the Bengals needed him most. I mean, 2-0, all that matters in the NFL. I keep reminding people of this. Just like in that opener at Cleveland, the Bengals were horrible at times on offense or offenseless. They won the game. All that matters is the W.
Well, here's the common denominator between the Bengals and the Buckeyes. Both head coaches post-game said, we didn't panic. Zach Taylor going over, hey, he comes out, Burrow comes out, Browning goes in, it's next man up. You hear it from every coach ad nauseum for the last century.
But you know what? If you panned them down, they would definitely say, but boy, you never want to say next quarterback up if you don't have to.
Well, you got a point there when you have an MVP candidate every season. And it's a shame. I mean, it's really a shame that this guy, that Joe has run into 3 major injuries.
Horrible.
I mean, it just it takes the
Yeah.
So anyway, and Ryan Day said the same thing as it got tight in the shoe. 13-9, I guess, was the closest it was. And the Buckeyes took it from there and scored 24 unanswered, I guess.
Yeah.
Wasn't that, I know everybody's gambling now. Everybody's got the spread. It was right on the number, I think, 28.
Yeah. It ended up started like 33-point spread or so. And so earlier in the week, and it got all the way down to 27.5 or 28.5. I'm not sure which one it ended up. Depends really where you look sometimes. But the bottom line, it is uncanny.
Isn't it?
It is uncanny.
I came down, Tim, and a guy, hey, Clay, I got 28, and he's like, oh no, we can't, no, don't let him score. No, just sweating out that last minute 13 when you shouldn't be worried.
And now
now
you know why coaches get a lot more threats when things don't go great.
Because somebody lost
in
a lot of
a
money.
season. It's not just about, oh, my team lost. It's about, I lost big at wherever,
Right.
And I don't feel sorry, by the way, for people who lose gambling at all. I'm not whatever. You can do whatever you want to in your life. I've never been a gambler for that very reason. As much as I love to win, it's kind of like a football coach. I hate losing more. It's like taking money, tearing it up and throwing it in the toilet and flushing it.
Right. It just, I know if I went to Vegas, and I've been a few times, connecting flights, whatever.
Yeah.
Never spend a cent. And I feel like don't start.
Yeah.
Just don't start.
Because I'm one of the, I can be an addictive person about things. That's why when I decided to go on that diet, I put myself on about 7-8 months ago. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that could sit down back in the day with not a rasher of Oreo cookies, a whole package of them, and eat 3/4 of them before I ever thought about it. My favorite thing, one of my definite vices is kettle cooked potato chips. I just love the crunch, and I can, next thing you know, I've got like a big bag, and there's like a mini bag left of them.
I'm big on the kettle corn.
Yeah.
All that.
Everybody's got something.
And I'm like, what are you doing, Clay? You're going to kill yourself.
That is correct.
Diabetic.
So you just don't eat it. You know what I mean? I'm pretty good about being cold turkey about something. I just quit it, and I can do that.
Good for you.
No, but the problem is you have to do that, or else I'm the opposite of that, which is really, really, really bad. But when I got
over
up to
the deep end,
when I got up to 200, and I was up to 219 one time and went on a big diet and got that back down to 200, which is where I wanted to go, because I'm 6'2", and I didn't want to be that guy. And then I got up to 211 last year, and one of my grandsons made a comment about my belly. And so I've always been a tall, thin guy, thinnish. Although I don't think anybody's really thin when they're when they're 200 pounds or more. But I just went, okay, I'm 71 years old. What am I going to do about this? And I went on a fast FAST diet, and boy, did it work for me. I just made it up. I looked online for like 4 or 5 different things. I melded them, and boom. I now this morning weighed 198.7 on my scale. I'm staying between 196 and 200. I feel real good about it. But
you're 6'2", I'm 5'10.5", and I weigh what you weigh.
Wow.
But you're looking in the mirror. It's some of it's muscle.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Well, no, you're right.
Out.
You're right. Some of it is muscle, but a lot of it's not, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
I don't know how we digressed onto that, except for the fact that, now you got the Bengals sitting there once again without Joe Burrow. They had Joe Burrow maybe at his finest last year and couldn't make it happen. Now you're sitting there without one of the top, in my opinion, 3 quarterbacks in the National Football League playing for you. You got Jake Browning. Where do you go from here? So
I was noticing this morning on some of the blurbs about the injury, and a couple of the talking heads were like, Hasselbeck was one, and I forget if it's Tim or the other one. My bad.
It's okay.
He said season's over. We're 2 games into a 17-game season.
No.
It's over.
No.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're in a tough division. Yeah, Baltimore's pretty dang good.
I think Joe Gibbs, was it Joe Gibbs? I think this is the right stat. Didn't Joe Gibbs win the Super Bowl with 3 different quarterbacks? I'm talking about 3 different Super Bowls. I think he won 3 with the Redskins with 3 different quarterbacks. And you go, how'd they win with that guy?
Yeah.
You never know.
One of them?
Yeah. You never know. Doug Williams was one.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to need in December and January that's going to get you there, because your defense can play a huge role in that.
Well, it's clear.
I mean, look at the Browns. The Browns have a great defense, right? What are the Browns? They're 0-2.
0-2.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
in divisional games,
it's pretty clear that Browning with 3 picks is not the thrower. Joe Burrow is, and so
you reshape.
You can, but that's what the coaches are for. So, is it going to be an uphill climb? Dang right.
I didn't realize you were such a Bengal guy. That's what I'm learning in this show as we go along.
I'm a Cowboy guy. What are you talking about?
I know, but I mean, but you opened with the Bengals because we are supposed to talk about them and the Browns a little bit.
Yeah.
But you were like Johnny on the spot, Clay on the spot with the Bengals today.
No, you ripped me right off the bat.
Yeah.
And you tried to steer me back into the actual.
Right.
My feeling is sports people.
You're a hurricane. You're a hurricane and I'm a steering current.
Okay. My former boss, the guy where I cut my teeth, he's like, sports people have a reservoir of knowledge. It's not like you come to the newscast and whatever the market is doing, or what happened in Washington. You need to be told. But sports people, by the time this hits the air on a Monday afternoon, most will know. So you're right.
Yeah.
I skipped ahead.
No, but that's okay. And what I'm trying to tell you is that's A-okay.
Well,
by the way, I have a little bit of Tesla stock and it's up $22.95 as we speak today.
I've had a nice movement on my. And
you never know what's going to happen from one day to the next, but
right.
So just
good for you.
Give you a market update like your old boss used to want.
Yeah.
That's when everybody asks me. Go ahead and say, "What's up, Tim?" Go ahead and ask me.
What's up, Tim?
The stock market. I hope.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my comeback. That's my comeback.
That's his comeback.
Hey, let's get to
25 years.
Let's get to this thing. There are 2 undefeated teams that we actually care about on this show: the Bengals and the Ohio State Buckeyes.
There you go.
The Buckeyes are 3-0 and are coming off a win over Ohio University. And I want to tell you something. As the post game ensued, I'm talking about interviews and stuff ensued last week, or a couple nights ago. We got out of there at midnight, right? But people, and you're hearing people talking about, boy, the Ohio U played hard, and boy, give it up to Ohio U. And I'm just going, yeah, the game was close there after that big play that Ohio University hit, a big long touchdown, catch and run, where Lorenzo Styles Jr., as I said, missed 3 tackles on that play, which is tough. But boy, did he play great the rest of the night until he suffered the shoulder injury. He says he's going to be okay, by the way. I asked him about that as I was leaving the other night. But Ohio State had 572 yards, I think, total offense. Ohio U had 181.
That is correct.
And about 65 or 70 came on that one play.
62, maybe.
62 came on that one play.
Yep.
Ohio State had 36 points, and Ohio U had 9 points.
Ohio State had
doink the extra point. 37 points. Ohio State had 37 points. And if you just looked at the stats and the final score, Ohio State dominated Ohio University. If you were at the game, Ohio State was dominating Ohio University everywhere except on the scoreboard there early because they settled for 3 field goals and also had on their first possession drove to the 2-yard line and got stopped when they decided to go for it when Julian Sayin stepped up and got tripped as he was scrambling and might have scored, but that guy made a hell of a play for Ohio University. I'm not taking anything away from Ohio University.
No, don't.
But it was a one-sided victory by Ohio State. It should not really be considered anything other than that, because just like in golf, if you get off to a great start in your front 9 and you blow up on the back 9, you blew up. Your final score is your final score.
That is, you're stuck with it.
Yes.
And even if you shave a couple here or there.
Hey, remember I hit the ball on 8? Yeah, I remember. Right. But remember I didn't hit it on 16?
Those 3 field goals reminded me, and this is kind of a loser's mentality, but the 96 Michigan game when Ohio State was absolutely dominating, got down on the goal line and kicked 3 field goals and ended up losing the game. I just remember Pepe Pearson just running, but they couldn't get it in the land of milk and honey. What I was going to say about the game.
Let me add one thing. That game, I wrote a story in that morning paper.
96?
In 96 that Joe Germain was going to get the start. And officials at Ohio State were mad at me. Yeah, that's the way it goes. And then Joe Germain, the reason he was going to get the start over Stan Jackson for the first time was that he was going to, with that passing game with David Boston and D. Miller and company, they were going to light it up. And instead they settled for 3 field goals in the first half and led 9-0. And of course, we all know Ty Streets goes past a slipping Sean Springs at the start of the second half to put Michigan on the board.
But they were still behind.
What, dude? You're like my buddy Jeff Snook. You're stepping on my punchline, because I've heard John Cooper refer to that several times many times, and I go, but Coach, you were still leading the game after that happened. You got beat because you didn't score a point in the second half. Understand? And
understood,
now,
Mr. May.
This Ohio State team still scored a touchdown and still had, as I asked Ryan Day about it in the post game, when it comes right down to it, you still got Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, 2 of the best receivers in college football, not in the Big Ten, not on their team, in college football. And they hit them for 2 huge plays. They had 2 players that Ohio U did not, which they went to. And you put man-to-man coverage on either one of those guys, I'll take my chances any day. And Julian Sayin, who clearly has worked on his deep ball, hit them both down the middle, post cuts for big touchdowns in that game, which broke it open, maybe not be the right term, but definitely gave them the distance in that marathon. So that's what Ohio State had going for it all night long. If they finally got it to the difference makers, and those 2 guys are difference makers, that's why you have players like that. That's why you go get them.
Well, Julian Sayin.
I'm going to step out of the pulpit now and let you preach.
Julian Sayin, both of those deep balls were a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
I mean, just laid it right on the hands.
Yeah.
In the breadbasket, touchdown. It's that. He's he had a couple of mistakes. The one, and I don't want to take away from, because his stats were very good, 23-29, 333, if I'm not mistaken, 3 touchdowns.
His best night yet.
2 interceptions.
Best game yet as a starter. He's only had 3.
And interceptions are going to happen, asked Dak Prescott. But the only one that would be concerning is when you're being sacked, you're a foot off the ground or a foot and a half, 2 feet, and you're trying to get it to somebody and make a play. Just eat it, and I've never played quarterback, but it's like, hey man, don't mess up your stats. You're looking so good.
Yeah.
But everybody wants, hey, I can get it to somebody. I see somebody.
But when your right guard whiffs on that little protection scheme they have, which I've never liked, and they've had that forever. In fact, Billy Price had a great pickup in the win over Alabama way back when, the Sugar Bowl in 2014, on their way to the national championship, where they pull the right guard. He comes around and picks up a guy coming off the left side. I've never liked that. And I thought it was Tegra Chabot. I may be wrong on the pickup there. And the guy went around him, and your quarterback's a sitting duck. And that's the guy that hits him as he's trying to dump the ball off, and the ball goes askew. Whether that should have been a fumble or an incompletion or an interception, obviously it doesn't matter at this point. It's moot. But the bottom line was, it was what it was. But yeah, I mean, Ryan Day talked about it. You have to know that moment. Just pull the ball back into your breastplate and hang on for dear life and play another play. But that's what stood out about that game. They got a lot of lessons out of that game, one of which was it was not a clean pocket all night. And Julian Sayin had to move around and make some plays, and proved himself capable of that for the most part.
And it'll only get tougher.
Right. Well, yeah, maybe, unless they fix some of those problems that he was running away from with the offensive line. But they still had 572 yards of total offense. They still showed a little package there with Lincoln Keynotes coming off the bench. And as Ryan Day pointed out, I think he said this for the record, but just to let Washington know, just because Lincoln Keynotes is in there doesn't mean he's going to run it.
Right.
But he did run it on that play.
Yeah, a couple of other points before we go, or before we.
I want you to introduce your little video too.
Well, yeah, one of these can leave. We'll leave it till after. Bo Jackson, has he won the running back one job? And does that, if he moves him up, is that going to be a concern 2 games in, or will it be the Carlos Lachlan best player plays? He's been the best player. Do you think that would play with C.J. Donaldson or James Peoples, or do you care?
Well, if it would, it already is then, because if I remember correctly, Bo Jackson started the second half at running back in the game. It was a game that was right after Ohio U hit their big pass. Times they were tight, and Bo Jackson, I think, went in as the first running back in the second half for Ohio State when they got the ball back after the kickoff. What does he do? He rips off a 64-yard run. He kind of goes, left side of and then angles to the right of the field. And to me, number one, him being in there was a statement, and then number two, him doing what he did. Number one was a statement by the coaches. Number two was a statement by Bo Jackson. And then, of course, he comes out and they put C.J. Donaldson in because he's got to get his oxygen back and whatever. Just gone are the days that Archie Griffin carries the ball 35 times or Eddie George carries it 35 or 40 times. But the bottom line is, and we talk about Matt Wilhelm, and I'll talk about that on the segment coming up, by the way, my weekly segment with Matt Wilhelm. You don't need to designate maybe one over the other, because sometimes a guy starts a game. Sometimes you might have no running back in the game, at the start of a game because of some opportunity you've got after the kickoff or opportunity you got after a turnover. It may be 4 tight ends on the field with this team. You never know. But the bottom line is you're going to have 3 running backs to service this team going forward. The guy who I think a lot of people want to see pick up the pace a little bit is the People's Choice, James Peoples. And I thought he did in the second half a little bit. Yeah. There's a guy that, you're kind of counting on. We said a lot of good things about him in the offseason and in the preseason, but you want to see him step up. I think C.J. Donaldson has been pretty much as advertised, a 1,000-yard rusher who came from West Virginia and is quite competent in there. But Bo Jackson, there is no denying Bo Jackson has that little bit of a spark, a little bit of a burst, for want of another term,
the old extra gear
that gets everybody else going. Yeah, but even before he gets to that passing gear, he's running through things and or he's seeing things a little maybe clearer and running through them.
Seeing it.
Yeah, and he's seeing it and then he's doing it, and kind of like Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs sees it and he goes makes the play, right?
No doubt.
No difference when it comes to making plays in football. So I'm really curious about that. Now, you've got a little video coming up here in a second, but Jaylen McClain, what did he do on Saturday night that caught your eye?
Well, it's interesting because OSU wanted to trot him out. He's a sophomore. He replaced a very good player,
Lathan Ransom.
Lathan, who would just stick his nose in all kind of hellacious scrums and would come right out of it.
Second down against Texas.
Boom.
Down near the goal line. Caleb Downs flushed the running back left, and Lathan Ransom finished him off.
Wow. And so you got a Lathan 2.0 here. He's a hitter, 6', 201, sophomore. He's a Jersey kid. I just think people out of Jersey are tough.
Yeah. By the way, this photo we've got on the screen right now is from the newsherald.com of his big hit the other night, which the officials, they didn't even throw a flag on the play.
No.
But the review guy wanted to look at it again.
Yeah.
And it was about as form and clear a big hit that's still legal in college football as you can get. You agree?
Was he investigating targeting?
Oh, yeah. You got to, because of the way the hit happened. Sometimes officials don't see it all. I mean, the officials have had that right for a while now to the replay official to look at a play if he thinks there's a questionable a chance of it being a hit, an illegal hit. Because number one, people don't understand this, and I don't care if they do anymore, because if you don't, you're ignorant. But the reason you don't want a head-to-head or head-to-neck area hits you're protecting both players.
Sure.
Not one, both players. Just ask Ryan Shazier.
Bingo.
Okay.
Bingo.
You don't want to be making hits like that. And you definitely don't want people taking hits like that. And so the making and taking is what you're looking at there. And it was cleared and stuff. But wow, what a hit at exactly the right moment, because Ohio U was kind of on the move, and bingo.
Thump. Yeah. And so he was a popular guy in the post game room there, and 15, 20 guys around him descending on young Jaylen. And let's get a little piece of that.
Here we go.
Obviously, the way the play just played out, it came to me. I just had to make the play.
How comfortable are you now out there?
I'm real comfortable. I feel like the preparation I put in practice, I feel like it's evident, and I just trying to put it on display on the field.
Defense coming together, just had maybe the one mistake where the guy got out and busted a tackle.
Yep.
Otherwise, what did you think?
I feel like we played hard. Fought hard to get off the field and get the ball back to the best offense in the country.
What happened on that play? I mean, it's so shocking. You guys shut stuff down so often, and when that happens, it's like hard to believe.
Just the bust. Caught the ball, missed tackles. Just stuff like that happens. Just gotta do it better next time.
Is this DBU? Do you really believe?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's the proof is in with the draft picks we produce every year.
What do you look at as the biggest thing you guys need to work on here?
Just don't take your foot off the gas. In the bye week, I feel like you could get complacent and just take a break and take a step off the gas. I feel like we're going against a good Washington team. I feel like we gotta just keep it going.
So I didn't get in there and play a lot of snaps today. How do you feel like he inserted himself there?
I feel like he's doing a good job. I feel like when his number's called, he's making the plays. He's showing the preparation that he does in practice every day. It's showing.
How much is intimidation a part of this defense in secondary?
It's intimidating when you get off the field on third downs, you know what I mean? So I feel like us doing that is just real intimidating.
What was your thinking when they're reviewing that targeting?
I didn't even know that. They were reviewing for targeting? I didn't even know that. I'm sorry.
When you're playing a quarterback like Navarro, when he was in there, and can move around and do some things, how much more difficult does that make on the back end of the defense trying to pay attention to what he's doing?
When watching film, we knew that was going to be, he's been a problem for other teams, and we knew we had to contain a guy like him, real dynamic type of running quarterback. We knew, that was going to be a task for us.
Jaylen, can you assess where you are after 3 games?
It's still the beginning. I'm just improving every game, every day, just focus on my development and my contribution to this team.
You have 2 bye weeks, I think, this season. Do they come at a good time? I mean, you're stuck with the schedule that they give you, but would you rather be on to the next?
I love football, so I'm going to play football. I love the games. I love the practice. But, it is what it is. Just keep on going.
Big Ten openers coming. Is that a different mindset for you?
No, I play with the same mindset every day, every game. It doesn't matter who we're going against. It's all about us, like Coach Jay says.
How much of an influence is Caleb and the other guys, the veteran guys there? What have they taught you? And just what do you take from them?
No, they're a big influence on me. I feel like they helped me get comfortable when I started starting and stuff like that. And they believe in me. Back.
When you have a big hit, did they say anything on the sideline? Did they? Give you a look or what?
They were excited, but just making the plays that came to me, just a little bit more violent.
Jaylen, what is Bo Jackson showing you right now?
He's a good player. I feel like he's flashing and making the plays that I expect him to make because I see it every day in practice.
Ardell Reese made a lot of plays out there. What does he bring to this defense?
He brings attitude. He's a force to be reckoned with. He makes plays day in, day out, and I see that. I see it every day in practice. So it's nothing new to me.
Jaylen, you guys have had a couple day games. You had a night game tonight. What have you just thought of the crowd and kind of different things that they've done to try to enhance the environment this year?
It keeps the fans engaged, stuff like that. So it's fun to see. They get loud and they're engaged in the game, doing the little activities that they have throughout the game. So it's cool.
What does that add for defense?
It hasn't, like I said, intimidation. When the crowd gets loud on third down, it kind of rattles the quarterback.
Can you talk about the resolve that this team might have to try to follow? year. I know it's all new, defending anything. Ryan has made that clear, but you're going after something.
We're just focused on going 1-0 every day. You know what I mean? Just every day, day in, day out, just putting the bird down every day in practice, and then, the results will show, with this process.
Ryan was talking about how you guys didn't panic when the game got tight. Where do you think that guy comes from for you guys to keep your confidence even when maybe things aren't going quite as smoothly as you expect?
We're going to sync to the level of our training. You know what I mean? When things get hard, can't get scared, can't start panicking. Just play the game every day. It's a simple game.
Thanks, Jaylen. Thanks.
Yeah, I had a little bit of trouble there with the audio. That's okay. I think it was more of our recording device for this show than it was Clay Hall's recording, because I remember Clay Hall in his former life used to tote a camera, right, Clay? And you're one of those guys that got right up the interview. Is the interviewee? You got it right at the interviewee's nostrils at times.
Had to.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I was fighting off Tim May, the 6'3" guy who was
looming.
He was looming, is right. Yeah. He kind of was.
Remember that little camera I had? Yeah.
He was picking his spot like who was the guy?
I don't know.
The Cowboys traded Micah
Parsons.
So Tim would, he was back there. He was cerebral, yes. Aggressive, yes. On point, yes.
Yeah, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my yes man, Clay Hall. That's why the Tim May Show features Clay Hall.
That's why it is.
Well, anyway, yeah, Jaylen McClain, wow, makes his point. I mean, anybody can see things have moved on, like you said, next man up, whether that's because of graduation or because a guy left early for the NFL. Ohio State almost always now seems to have another stud in line. And Jaylen McClain, they've been raving about him all through the preseason, and now you know why. I mean, he stepped up with a huge play, huge hit right there. And those are memorable, man. Believe me, Washington, as they get ready to play Ohio State in 2 weeks, they're going to see that video. I mean, they're going to know there's a guy back there who's, you don't call them headhunters anymore. You call them more like chest hunters.
Ball hawks.
Yeah, but I mean, bottom line is a guy that will come up and hit you.
How about
makes a difference.
Reese? How about that pursuit? I mean, you could go on and on and on down the list here.
Right.
That guy can close on quarterbacks like
nobody's business.
Flat.
Like nobody's business.
And I'll tell you another, and some of this came a little bit, I was listening on the radio as well, but I agreed wholeheartedly with the game Caden Curry and Bo Atkinson had.
Yeah.
Caden was heard his name called several times.
Yep.
He's starting to, find that rhythm, get his mojo.
Matt Wilhelm and I talk about that here in a minute. Go ahead. You're exactly right. Bo Atkinson the same way. It was Bo Atkinson that made the hit on Parker Navarro, and he had to leave the game. Still wasn't clear exactly, but he ate something with his his left hand or wrist. It looked like he had a big wrap on his left wrist and thumb when he came back into the game. And it was too bad to see him leave. I really like that guy. But, Ohio State never really let their offense get up off the mat more than a couple of times. And I thought the Ohio State defense, like I said last week, I enjoy watching this defense play.
And one other thing, just to get a shot at a guy who can move just kind of expands your repertoire, your resume, your tool chest. So
what the French call a certain I don't know what.
But I think it makes you think. It gives you another look that will be very profitable down the line.
Yeah. Speaking of profitable, man, I've always enjoyed the what I get from talking to Matt Wilhelm every week during the football season now for many years. And, former, as I point out, I give him his intro every week, so I have to repeat all that. But he does give us a perspective now. What's great about him now being an assistant coach with Lakewood St. Edward, which is maybe the top, Division I program in the country now, high school wise, he can give you insight from a coach's point of view also on what coaches think about in certain things. And so, without further ado, and with that in mind, let's get to my one-on-one, my weekly one-on-one with Matt Wilhelm. These first Mondays of football season for these many years of the Tim May Show, by the way, now featuring Clay Hall. Matt Wilhelm, former Ohio State All-American linebacker, former NFL linebacker, former national champion, former Super Bowl champion. Welcome back to the Tim May Show, my man.
Great to be with you, Tim, as always.
I know that, man. I just like that intro, even though people are probably, I got to come up with something else. And then now Matt will do a backflip. But I would just say this before we get going. You being an assistant coach at Lakewood St. Ed's, the best part about being 4-0 is
the chance to go 5-0. We're excited. Big win over Glenville, a hard-fought game. And ironically, what it allows me to kind of bridge is sometimes fans and parents always just want to be so comfortable in blowouts when you're a very good football team. And I think there's such a gift, and it's the message to the players from the coaches, and sometimes players then have to go back and tell mom, like, the best thing about this opportunity of having to play 4 quarters of football and run the ball and get the first downs when you need to, and complete the pass when you need to, or get the stop when you need to get the ball back to the offense, is actually real football.
Yes.
Winning 77-0, blowouts early in the season don't prep you for anything. And I think you're already the number 1 team in the country, and I'm referencing the Buckeyes, of course. And of course, St. Ed's is ranked very high in the state of Ohio, but it comes with a target, and you're going to get everybody's best effort. And so your ability to go in at halftime, make adjustments, come out and take their best punches, and still be standing, and then start to deliver your own punches as well, was such a gift for us at the high school level in a hard-fought battle, here in the Northeast Ohio, Cleveland area, and at the Battle of Ohio, Ohio State versus Ohio, having to play 4 quarters, and an opportunity for those guys to just continue to keep taking the punches, because Ohio U would not go away, and then Brian Hartline and Matt Patricia and the players on the field delivering those blows over the course of time was just too much.
You know what? This is one of the things I've always liked about you, Matt, is when we get together, we think almost the same things, which I don't understand that. I'm a 6'2". I weighed almost 220 at one point, but I'm a fighting lean 198 now. I got my weight down several months ago because one of my grandsons talked about my belly, and I went, well, I'm not gonna be that old guy, and but the bottom line, but my point is, and you played football at the highest level. My point is that was exactly what I was going to lead to. I remember I told you before we started, no warm ups this time. Let's get straight to the questions. Yeah. Ohio State dominated Ohio University in the final analysis, right? 30, what was it? 30, what was the final
37-9.
37-9. 37-9. Won by 28 points. And people were talking after the game about what, and Ohio, you did play hard throughout, but Ohio State gained 572 yards of offense to their 181. Right. A 28-point win, that's domination, no matter how you put it, but it was slow but sure, kind of like watching a dam fill up, as opposed to a
Tim,
tsunami.
the one thing I'll say, and again, I don't think it was, no one put Ohio University in the same bucket as Grambling did. And if you did, you just don't know football.
Right.
Because if you look back at the resume, and I think, Brian Smith, the newly appointed head coach, talked about it after the game, was, I think, Ohio U and Notre Dame, and I'm quoting what he said, are the only 2 programs that played two Power 4 games in their first 3 games of the football, or first 2 games of the football season. So, mind you, I think it was 31-17 Rutgers over Ohio U, and that game finished in New Jersey 34-31.
Yes.
So OU and their, the Navarro kid played very well, and they were, hitting double moves on some of, on Rutgers in the second half, and make it a game against I'll call it a mid to upper and or lower tier based on the year type of program in Rutgers with Greg Schiano there. And then last week at home, West Virginia, another Power 4 opponent, who, again, is revamped with Rich Rodriguez, and they have their own challenges, and, got a big win in the backyard brawl this past weekend against Pitt. Beat them at home. So they're juiced as a program to take a Big Ten team to the cusp and get a big win at home against a Power 4. So they're full of, swag.
Confidence.
And maybe not necessarily thinking they're going to come to the Horseshoe and win a football game, but they're going to come in and battle. And that's exactly what they got.
Oh, yeah.
And I think to your point, no one in Ohio State overlooked Ohio University, at least probably not inside the Woody. I think the other side of it, and to go back to, our analysis of the first half, and then you didn't have to hear Ryan Day even talk about it, was just, you convert 2 of the 3 opportunities in the first half in the red zone that one is a turnover on downs, you don't get it, and you kick 2 field goals or 3 field, whatever it happened to be. And it's like you score the percentage an Ohio State offense will normally score in the red zone. And you look at this game completely different. So you're looking at 51-9, as opposed to 37-9. And you go in, 20-3 or 24-3, whatever it might be at halftime. And you feel like this is kind of how the game is supposed to play out. You took some of the early punches, from OU, you weathered them, you scored in the red zone. You're like basically stopping them completely on offense. And you've got this lead, and then you just feel like the runaway that did happen offensively and the stops defensively that happened in the second half just continue to make it an empty Ohio Stadium by mid to late fourth quarter, where everybody's back to getting their drinks in the parking lot, not their drinks in the game. But I'm elated that it didn't happen that way, and here's the reason why. Just like for us, this allows, after a 77-0 victory, and if this one was 55-6, sometimes you as coaches, you have to just like wrestle in between plays and start getting super nitpicky on things that really aren't an issue because it was just so easy for you. But in this case, this allows Brian Hartline and Ryan Day and Matt Patricia to go get nitpicky about some things on why it didn't convert.
Yep.
Was it lack of protection? Was it miscommunication? Was it Julian Sayin, seeing one thing, or a receiver running a read route and Julian Sayin thought he was going to run this, but he ran that. And so we held the ball a little bit longer and had to throw it out of bounds. And then you kick the field goal. It allows you to just get nitpicky and continue to not get comfortable being really, really good, really talented, and the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you, for one of another term, something to coach during the off week before you open conference play at one of the toughest places to play in America, Husky Stadium in Seattle, Washington, against the Washington Huskies, which all makes sense since they call it Husky Stadium. but the bottom line, you're exactly right. And the things that stood out to me, and that was number 1, not finishing in the red zone like you're talking about, including the very first time down the field. And you go for it on 4th and 2, and Sayin has to evacuate a rapidly deteriorating pocket and then gets tripped as he gets out to the edge, because it looked like he might have been able to score if he hadn't gotten tripped by that one guy. Made a hell of a play, number 15, whose name I wrote down, but I forgot now. But my point is, these are all little things. And the thing that stood out to me most, I wanted to touch on this with you, was Sayin, for the first time this year, faced every now and then a not clean pocket, and had to improvise and do some things. I thought he acquitted himself quite well in that regard.
I do too, and I think that's a testament to, I'll say, really in the first half, where OU was probably constructed some blitzes or pressures and married coverage looks that are different than what Ohio State had seen on film in weeks 1 and week 2 versus West Virginia and Rutgers. And Sayin was holding the football a little bit longer and also potentially stressing the protection, and again, it's one guy breaking down, running at him. And of course, a young quarterback's going to deviate to space. And then how lock in step is he with the receivers for them to fight back into his vision? Because this is the 3rd game the guy started, and he's playing with these guys in practice only, but not necessarily in games.
Right.
Where does he like to go with the football? And of course, most right-handers like to step up and go out. So then you work back, to his vision, and you start to layer those things so he can, does he want the short? Does he want the big chunk play? And I believe deviating to the second half is but then you could see, in time, OU went, we figured out what OU was doing, or they went back to something that we had seen on film in previous games, and you saw the shots down the field to Carnell Tate, the shots down the field to Jeremiah Smith, and really loosening up. And then also, I'll just say flat out, it's again, no knock against Ohio University, but it's better players running by not so good defensive backs and taking advantage of having superior recruits with, 5-star receivers, 4-star receivers with a 5-star quarterback just delivering the football in stride. That's tough to beat no matter who you are, let alone a Mid-American, very good, high quality football team in this case.
That's why, my question that I got to ask Ryan Day after the game, that's what I brought up to him, was that sometimes, they've got, no matter what, they've got Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate sitting out there that most every other team does not. And when you get into a game that's gotten kind of clunky or hard to maybe get something going on a consistent basis, you still got these two knockout artists, that everybody else doesn't have. And I thought they used them at exactly the right time for a couple of haymakers, which really pretty much put the fight away, right?
Up. Yes. Yeah. And I think the other side of it, and I think it goes back to the construction of the national championship team last year, at least as it pertains to the offensive backfield, is like the gift that we have in CJ Donaldson, James Peoples, and the emergence of Bo Jackson. And I'm not going to make the claim. Again, I know 9 for 109 and a touchdown. I'm not going to say that the freshman's the best player in the room, but they're all a little bit different.
Yep.
And even just, connecting, with some folks, within the program was like what I loved about the run game in particular, regardless of the back, was you got to see duo, you got to see pin and pull, you got to see zone scheme. Like they went into the bag on OU on just, and again, you're getting 3-4 yards before these guys are getting touched, and then OU fits the run. It's like you're averaging 6-7 yards a carry, and which is an amazing feat. But you just got in the bag. I think Hartline got in the bag. Tyler Bowen got in the bag on run game stuff. Not to the point where you're like, well, let's just see what this looks like. Let's see what this looks like against a stingy defense in a real game in Ohio Stadium with high stakes.
Yeah.
And it was O-line delivering, punching holes in them, running backs downhill. Again, as I said, getting 4 or 5 yards before they're getting touched. It's such a gift. I think having them get this early game experience, maybe going, two-headed monster into Texas, then all three of them, everybody played against Grambling. And then in this case, it's a hard-fought game. Bo Jackson with 9 carries, Peoples with 7, CJ Donaldson with 9. So it's like they're not taking on a load, which is going to maintain their health long-term. Mm-hmm. But even if one of them goes down, you feel really comfortable with the two of them being able to take the lead, similar to Junkins and Henderson last year. Yeah. And the way the offensive line is playing together and opening up those holes, it's a gift. And it's why I believe you also saw the down the field play action game open up the way it did for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, absolutely. It all adds up, right? If you do the math correctly, it all adds up for you.
Well, yeah, and truthfully, I mean, to teach people football, like a little bit of eye discipline, looking at the wrong thing, and one misstep by a safety or a corner versus Carnell Tate or Jeremiah Smith, and it's a touchdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you run the ball and you take one step up, and the next thing you know, a 6'5", 220-pound, 5-star receiver, in scarlet and gray is running by you, you got to turn and run for your life. And by then it's too late. And then we saw that, to your point, we saw that turn into touchdowns, and it really was just a snowball effect from that point in the second half.
Yeah. Plus, I asked Julian Sayin after the game. I mean, he clearly worked on his deep ball too. I mean, you can see. Yeah. I mean, people
in stride. What is it? Jeremiah slightly weighted on the first one, slightly, but it was still ahead of him. And I think, some people might, I don't know who might get nitpicky, but I think both interceptions were unfortunate, but you take them in stride. The ball gets batted up, again, tips and overthrows are what defense make weight on and taking advantage of. And you saw OU do that. Now, 25-32, you figure it's 27, 32 for 375, if he doesn't throw those 2 picks.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. And I just love that adversity came, like it did in the Texas game, in a big moment at home. And it came in an unexpected moment. And you as coaches and players have to overcome that, make, in between drive changes on game plan, on blocking scheme, on concepts, because to your point, going to Seattle ain't going to be easy. You're going to have to do it against a good team there. And I mean, almost, every single week in the Big Ten, most weeks in the Big Ten, you're going to get everybody's best fight with better players than OU's going to have.
Yeah, absolutely. But then you keep it in mind, like you just said, like you brought up earlier. I mean, Brian Smith, those guys had a pretty decent plan. They didn't really. You take one play away, and you can't do this. I mean, I totally understand this for anybody who goes, you can't do this. I understand you not only how you talk, but what you're thinking. But you take one play away. You take one play away from Ohio U from Saturday night, and they barely cracked 100 yards. You understand what I'm saying? Offensively, number one, number two, they got 3 points. But you can't take one play away. I understand that totally. That's a breakdown. I mean, Lorenzo, as I said, Lorenzo Styles Jr. missed 3 tackles on one play. Trying to run the guy down, and where the help was finally, that's another story. But the point is, defensively. To this point, have you seen enough of a sample, starting with Texas? And we all know what happened to Arch Manning just this past weekend. He looked not real good against UTEP. Have you seen enough of this defense for you to feel good about them going into conference play? Obviously, they've got a week off this week. But what is it that you see most that kind of stands out about this Matt Patricia coordinated defense? But it's more than that. It goes to Tim Walton. It goes to Laurinaitis. It goes to Larry Johnson. But what in Matt Ferrucci, without a doubt. So what have you seen about this defense that you really like to this point?
What I love most about it is like, and I think in some cases, last season it was relying upon anyone along that front four to make a play. Jack Sawyer or JTT or Tyleek or Ty Hamilton were just. Yeah, they had been household names for years, and you're just expecting them at some point to make play. I think the emergence of Sonny Styles as a full-time starter last year as well. Simon as the block O player, just being rock solid as a Mike. We didn't know what we had for a little while. I knew we were getting a great player in Caleb Downs, but eventually, became one of the best players on defense. So what I love, and I think it's, and now if I was doing TV covering the Buckeyes, because of what Joe Klatt has been able to do, diagnosing what Ohio State did to confuse Arch Manning, is like you saw, Chris Sims do the same thing on the broadcast. Talk about, especially on third down situations, 3rd and 7+, we're going to line up in something, and, it looks like we're playing man, and we're going to go to Tampa 2, right? We're going to roll up the corners, and we're going to, give you small windows to throw into. And, oh, by the way, Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson are bearing down on you in the rush. But to answer your question, what I love most at this juncture is there's not one dominant force on this defense. Everybody's making plays. The emergence of Arvell Reese, the way he can just run a guy down the same way that Sonny Styles can run a guy down. So to have those two linebackers be as big as they are, but also as athletic as they are, Edric Houston, and we saw McDonald get the sack, both the edges. Again, Caden Curry. Caden Curry's been a guy that I think we've probably talked about, in small sample sizes. I've had my eye on for a long time. He's just, finally now, like a lot of Buckeyes have to do, waiting for that time to be the dude. Jack Sawyer and JTT finally go to the NFL. He finally becomes a guy, and he's delivering at a high level.
Let me interject real quick. He's kind of cutting it loose.
And I just think,
that's what I like about Caden Curry. He's always been like that, like maverick, Top Gun, like twitchy, violent player. Yeah. But you get it for the end of a game, or you get it on third down, and then he's out for a while. Yeah. And now that he's officially a starter, you're just seeing that activity, that violence, that pin your ears back and go type of mindset that I've always liked, and about him as a player, but we've just never gotten as much as we have. Good doses
like we are. Yeah. And I just think then lastly, I'll just say, McLean and Matthews and Caleb Downs and Igbinosin, it's like, shoot, for me to be able to rattle off every player on our defense just goes to show. It's not that I'm not studying it. I just watch the game and I go, anybody can make a play at any time. And there's something dangerous about that. And I think it's a testament to what Matt Patricia's done in year one. I think what I also saw, it was a social media post, and I don't even know the context, but it was Edric Houston like hugging Matt Patricia for like 15 to 20 seconds after the game. This is a guy that was a stranger in your life 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And you're now embraced following a win over OU, which you should have like already put the W, on the calendar months ago. So there's go back to like it's culture thing. There's a bond. There's a win for each other mentality about this football team. It happens to be our Ohio State Buckeyes. It also happens to be the number one team in the country, which just makes it feel really special. And as I said, the biggest gift was that this game, whatever the line was, I'm not a gambler, was probably high, 30, 40 points, whatever it was. I just love that it was a fight and it forced our guys to just rise to an occasion. I also believe, in certain cases, late in the fourth quarter, even mid to fourth quarter, you got to get some of the twos in the game in a rotation. So they're getting that live game action because, we know the Big Ten is going to be a tough schedule, and we're going to need, more bodies than just 11 to 13 starters on each side.
I thought you were going to morph that Edric Houston, Matt Patricia hug into Sleepless in Seattle, which is where they're headed.
That's what's coming this week. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks to start the Big Ten play. One of the quickie, does it bother you there was leakage, for want of another term, on occasion on the offensive line when it came to protection, which you didn't even see that against Texas really much. Right. Does that, as a coach, does that bother you a little bit, or?
Of course, it bothers you a little bit because you think you're prepared enough going into games. You think you've got the right guys that are doing it. But I love that, Tyler Bowen and these guys can watch the film and be critical of each other. And there's things that you still have to get better at, especially going into an open week. So it doesn't bother me all that much. I think it challenges the guys that are out there. I'm not trying to say making mistakes, but potentially we're the ones with the leakage. Can they fix it? And with a very talented, deep offensive line room like we have, who's nipping at their heels for playtime that you're gonna monkey with. And I think lastly, you figure there's been some domino shuffling with, Sierfeld moving around and, Daniel's in there. And so it's like you're getting different bodies, some of these transfers that have, again, also only been a Buckeye for 6 months that you're still learning about. I think also Brian Hartline, with specific, actions or concepts or protections that, you're just maybe evolving this offense, especially after Grambling, where you probably say, they only played 2 quarters. We didn't get to see these things in real game action. Let me call these next week. And you get a chance to, again, go back to my original statement, is like to get a little like nitpicky. And they're going to get, some time off to rest their bodies. But then I know this group with Ryan Day as the head coach, they're going to be highly critical, of these players. Because at a program like this and in a program, and again, even at St. Ed's at the high school level, it's like we want to give up no rushing yards and we want to give up less than 3 yards a pass. It's like that's the standard, and you chase that, and until you achieve that, you're always chasing 0 yards, which is so unrealistic. But it's the mindset of great coaches and the mindset of elite players that are chasing perfection, although it's not attainable in the game of football.
Yeah, absolutely. You just touched on something a minute ago that I actually wanted to ask you about. That's why I said you're yin, my yang, in a lot of this. At this point in the season, even though you're going in number one with the express purpose of winning each game, in other words, with a game plan, winning each game, with no preseason schedule, et cetera, you are still, like you just pointed out, you are still putting some things in, and you want to see how they go. Against a team that is game planned against you, no matter who that team is, and how good they are, right? I mean, that is the thing about college football that's a little bit different in it. I mean, you do have to try some stuff, right? Put it on the frying pan and see if it sizzles.
You absolutely do, and I think you don't know what you have in players until you actually get to see them go out and do it. All you have seen at the college level is seen them in practice. High school gets scrimmages. The pros get preseason games, although some of their starters, don't always, play in the preseason games. The good teams, get their guys out there at least early to get them just going, get them moving. And so, yes, there are, and I think that also, and I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, I think that Matt Patricia's probably got 55, 60% of the defense in, and has been called in a live game. And it's not that he's withholding a bunch of tricks, like down the road. They're not even tricks. They're just schemes, concept, protection beaters, different coverages, different blitzes that you're going to just, again, and I always talk about it in football. It's like, right now we might have been, 3 games in, you might, well, the pressure of Texas was a unique week 1 opening game. So you overcame that by getting the win. And you might have held things a little bit closer to the vest. You got super loose against Grambling and threw out a next level of stuff. I just want to get this out on film in a real game with bullets flying, in uniform on a game day. This one kind of was the true, they're going to game plan us. We're going to game plan then. We like these concepts. I think we attack them this way, but really not until you get to Big Ten play are you going to get into and I'll say get into the bag, but now you're going to, every week you're going to go, I don't like these couple concepts. We're going to you don't throw them in the trash. You just back burner them. But you've been sitting on this concept and this blitz, which against this team, because they like to do X, Y, Z, RPO or, run game, or they're going to be, a 2 tight end team. And you're going to, bring this blitz, off an edge right into where they want to run the football. And now you install it, and you're going to go back and you're going to go, oh, remember in week 2 of training camp, we installed whatever the call may be. We're going to bring that back. We haven't run it in 3 weeks. You're going to run it, especially on an open day. You're going to run a bunch of these concepts. You're going to tinker with things. And the last thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is it happens behind closed doors and really not even by the coaches. It's like these analysts and these like ants and data people within these programs is they're going to pull analytics of what's working and what's not. The success rate of specific calls, both on offense and defense. We're doing a lot of this on 1st and 10. We're doing a lot of this on 2nd and 6+. And you start to get highly critical of yourself as a play caller. That's Patricia and Hartline. And you start to deviate because there's trends that get developed after you've played 3, 4, 5 games. And there's also on the flip side, the Connor Stallions of the world, not necessarily stealing signs, but digging into that data, presenting it to the coaches, and then using it to go win a football game.
Yeah.
So we do it for ourselves and of our opponent, and our opponents do it of themselves and of us. And so this is that time to take a TV timeout, get your bodies right, be a little bit more mental, and start to evolve as an offense or defense. And again, we're going to go on the road. It's going to be a long flight. Who knows? Do we have a game time yet?
It's probably going to be 3:30 our Eastern time, 12:30 Washington time.
So it's the challenge of the challenge of getting on a plane, flying, back multiple time zones, hotel walkthroughs, nutrition, hydration, and then going out and do it. To your point, going back to one of the coolest college football settings, for a home stadium there at Husky Stadium is really cool, right on the lake. And how we manage that as a team now 3-0 and the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, one quick before we move on. When you go into these meetings, like you guys at Lakewood St. Ed's, you guys are 4-0. That's why, and ladies and gentlemen, that's what I meant about 4-0. In case you haven't been paying attention.
Well, the good thing about 3-0 is to go 4-0 too.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong.
For Ohio State, 4-0. Best thing about 4-0 at Lakewood St. Ed's is to go a chance to go 5-0. And this week at Massillon. Is it at Massillon?
It is at Massillon.
Wow. You guys just keep playing the hits, don't you?
25, maybe 24,000 people, night game. They're going to be ready.
Yeah, they're going to be ready. You just got off a win over Glenville. Was it Brandon White? Is that the running back's name?
Yes.
He had a tremendous game. And like you said, in the second half, y'all kind of came on big time. But getting back to what I'm asking, when you have these meetings and stuff as coaches, and I think every staff is different because it's different people, right? But how much do they truly park their ego at the door or check their ego at the door like their cell phone? You got to turn your cell phone off type. How much do they truly park their ego at the door? Or how much do people still stand on a soapbox, that's an old time saying, and still keep pounding? They want to keep trying this, even though maybe this isn't quite working. In their brain, it should be. What's it like being on a coaching staff at this moment in a season, 3 games in, like for Ohio State, and there are still concepts and things they can get to that maybe they've even schemed up, but They haven't had the confidence to call it yet, or they just decided that's not going to work because this guy can't do it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course I do. Absolutely. I have a kind of a great answer to it. I think the one thing well, first of all, I think Ryan Day, and to go back to the culture that exists within this program, and it's probably the same with Tress and with Urban and just the maintenance of Ryan Day, is I think the players' egos absolutely get checked at the door, regardless of who you are. And that's what makes this culture extremely unique. I think second of all, you have, and it's a testament to, I'll call it 2 first-year coordinators / play callers. And because Larry Johnson's been there, shoot for a decade or more, He has input. Tim Walton's been in the NFL. So both of these play callers and these coaching staffs are so collaborative. And I'm sure they sit down for hours on end and say, I like these things, and here's why. And you kind of, in some cases, the same way it's even in recruiting. It's like, I like this kid, and here's why. And you stand on a table and you sell said kid, or in this case, said concept to the play caller. And and it's not that it's like, it's not F you, not in a setting. It's like, you're just open to listen because no one's a know-it-all. Matt Patricia could say, oh, coach, I've got these Super Bowl rings, and he just smashes everybody down. But it's like, no, who wants to play? Who wants to coach on that staff?
Right.
Because Walton's going to say, I like these concepts. I think we should do more of this. What do you think? And it's a very collaborative back and forth. And I think that's what's great about the coaching culture at Ohio State, because you look at, Hartline is a first-year play caller, but not a first-year offensive coordinator. Ryan Day has been a long-time quarterback coach and play caller. Tyler Bowen, offensive line coach, was an offensive coordinator at Virginia Tech before he came over. So it's like, and maybe he's the run game coordinator. So like all of them have, these are the things that I'd like to do. And then you sit constructively in a meeting for hours on end and you talk through what it is, how we implement it or install it, and when is the right time to do it. Is it this week during the bye week that you add some things, because you have, an extra 3-4 days of practice, without under the gun of playing a game on a Saturday. And then if you don't like it and you get it in practice and again, you don't scrap it forever, but you back burner it until it pops up again at the right time. Yeah. So it's a very collaborative, egos have to be set to the side, and the people that are in the room for a specific reason. And it's all just very, all in to hear each other out and why. And in some cases, maybe against Grambling, maybe against OU, there's a concept. You're like, I just want to go get this on film. And you're like, I don't love it, but I'll appease you. So we'll run it, or I'll call it a couple of times to see what it looks like in a real game.
Yeah. Okay.
And you can get away with that against Grambling. You can get away with that in some cases in the second half against a team like OU. But you're going to tighten things up again going on the road against Washington until you then get like, we're rolling. Like we can just call whatever and we're going to block it up, or we're going to call whatever. We're going to be able to cover them in the back end, and our guys up front are going to get home.
Yeah. Kind of like near the end of Rudy, it was kind of a made up scene. What he did on the field wasn't made up, but remember Dan Devine going, okay, send him in, type thing. Yeah. Okay, make your call. And then it works. Yes. And then you feel, oh, look at me. I'm smart.
I told you.
Yeah, I told you this kid had heart. Leave him in there. He gets a sack. Hey, last thing, circle back to what we talked about very early in this, which you may have forgotten by now, Matt, but remember in 2002, y'all had a freshman running back named Maurice Clarett. I don't know if you remember him or not. Mo Clarett. Let's call him Mo. Clarett, like is in Bo Jackson. It became pretty obvious. It might have been even in the spring. Remember, he came in early. And we all remember Maurice Clarett for all kinds of reasons, but there was no denying that this guy brought a spark to y'all's offense. And there was no denying the other night, for example, again, that Bo Jackson just, for whatever reason, the creases were there a little bit, he saw them better than the other two guys did. Let's put it that way. He ran through some tackle attempts too, which I think is so huge at this level, which is what Quinshon Judkins did last year. And for the most part, Travion Henderson did a lot of that too. Do you just have to let a situation like that develop in front of the whole team's eyes, much less the media or the fans, that, hey, maybe this is maybe this should be is it what they call it in the Iditarod, the lead dog? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I think, inside that building and inside the, with Coach Lachlan in the running backs room, I'm sure stats and successes aren't even talked about. And who's what, because it's us, it's team, right? It's room, it's our unit, and the running back unit for Ohio State is winning. And I think I don't necessarily, and again, I do think they all have a different personality about the way they run, and some have some gifts that are better than the others.
Yeah.
To make any type of comparison to Maurice Clarett, and I don't know Bo Jackson, I've never met him in my entire life. There was just an edge about Maurice Clarett. There was an aura and a confidence, borderline cockiness, but then the second he put the helmet on and went and practiced, he just backed it up.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even cockiness anymore. He was just really good.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting to see that in real time as Buckeye fans watching Bo Jackson. But that being said, I guess what I'm trying to wrap my head around is like, why do we need a lead dog?
Right.
Why can't we have, what is the, the character in a movie with like the 3-headed dog, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're all going to bite at you a little bit different, because as we found out last year with two dogs in the backfield, is how beneficial it is to you and how it wears down a defense and how the personality offense just slightly, and it's still evolving right now.
Yes.
It changes when one's in the game and one's not. Travion was stretch guy, space guy, get him out on the edge. Now he can run between the tackles, but Quinshon Judkins was your thunder in between the tackles. He'll run through you. He'll run around you. He'll, hezzy you and make a move, where Travion was the lightning aspect. And I think for these guys are still figuring out who does what and who does what best. And I think it is just an immense gift to the Ohio State football program that we all need to look at and just talk about the fact that we have the three of them, and frankly, with CJ Donaldson being the transfer, the old man in the room, I guess you could say, the fact that we have Peoples and Bo Jackson for like 3 and 4 more years, or 3 years each, whatever you want to call it, is such an amazing gift. And I don't think we need to put our culture wants to put a tag on it. Our culture wants to always have, well, who's number one? Does he get the first carry in the game? Does that mean he's a starter? Is that who they like best? No, it's the run that we're going to run first. And it's like, we just need to not read into it and just enjoy all three of them, because all three of them will benefit this football team if our hopes are to play 14, 15, 16 football games.
All I know is after a sluggish first half, having trouble finishing drives into the end zone for the most part, Bo Jackson was the first running back in the second half. What does he go? Second play of the second half? He goes 64 yards off left tackle, cuts it back to the right sideline. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, he started the second half and delivered, and then they take him out to get oxygen and whatever else, But I
also Tim, on the flip side, though, I also feel like I find it very coincidental that, like, and I said the stats earlier, it's like, Donaldson with 9, Bo Jackson with 9, and Peoples with 7. So, like, I'm sure somebody, and it might be Carlos Lachlan on the sidelines, got a little piece of, kind of tallying, not keeping score, but like making sure that it's balanced. And that's on purpose. That's for the maintenance of these young players.
Yes.
And I think that, the one other thing that I could say, and I think it was not Bo Jackson, but I think it was Peoples actually on one of those deep play action passes to either Jeremiah or Carnell Tate.
Yeah.
OU brings a blitz. We turn the protection appropriately. The back picks up the blitzer and just stymies him right in the hole to protect Julian Sayin to be able to throw the ball 50 yards down the field to one of our elite receivers. And I'm not trying to say that Bo Jackson can't do that.
Yeah.
But they're all going to have their gifts. They're all going to pay dividends. Let's just sit back with our popcorn and watch these guys play.
Yeah. I'm telling you, before you go, that was the luxury of Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. They were vicious.
Elite.
On blitz pickup.
Yes.
On pass pro. They were vicious, not just there. They were vicious
Correct.
about it.
Well,
And,
it's a culture thing, and
Yeah.
I think if anybody's been in tune to anything Ohio State on social media, and you get the clips of training camp,
Yeah.
Carlos Loughlin is
Yes.
like, he don't care
Oh.
if you pop a run. He wants to see you get nasty on blitz pickup.
Yeah.
And that's why you'll play. Because
Yeah.
I know what you can do with the ball in your hands, but I want to know what you can do when the ball's not in your hands. And I think
Yeah.
that's more important to this Buckeye football team.
Bingo. Ladies and gentlemen, it's always fun when Matt Wilhelm has the ball here talking on the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall. Hey, Matt, see you again next week, my
Absolutely,
man. Ohio State's
Tim.
getting ready for a big-time road trip, and I want to talk to you about making cross-country road trips and, what you kind of have to keep in mind. Yeah, it's just one way out, one way back and stuff, but let's get into a few of the tricks of the trade of that, of how you stay fresh even on a plane ride, right? But
Absolutely.
appreciate you joining me again, my man.
You got it, brother. Thanks as always.
Yeah, I think it's obvious. I really like Matt Wilhelm. Always have liked him. Even when he first showed up at Ohio State, man, he's one of those guys that'll speak his mind, and you've always got to like that about him, about anybody you have on a show and stuff. But I liked a lot of the points he made there about the running back situation. Boy, what you want to feel about right now is you have three guys, not which one should be number 1, 2, and 3. You got three guys that you think you can win with, and you go with it, right?
Yeah, and you could start either one.
Yeah.
Maybe interchangeable parts, and that's what you look for.
Yeah. Well, James Peoples got to start the other night if you're keeping score on whatever it is. But like Matt Wilhelm said, depend on the play that they want to run. It could be the other guy or it could be the other guy, even though supposedly they can run all their plays with all their guys. You know what I mean? That old coach speak stuff. But
Like
anyway.
the blocking he pointed out.
Yeah. What are you going to watch this weekend? I know one game I'm going to watch is called the
Apple Cup.
There you go.
Washington State. I hate that Mike Leach left that game, came to Mississippi State, but he loved it.
But you liked it. He went to Mississippi State, didn't you?
I did, because he brought that crazy air raid to the 10th power. So we got that. And you'll get to talk with, some of the principals of the Ohio State staff.
Yeah, we get to talk to Ryan Day and the two coordinators, Matt Patricia and Brian Hartline, later this week and stuff. And we'll bring you, if not video, we'll bring you highlights from those conversations, depending on how we're feeling, right? More like how our cameras are feeling. But ladies and gentlemen, for Clay Hall, I'm Tim May. This is the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall. We'll see you next time.